Hello, everybody. Good afternoon, good morning, good evening. My name is Professor Rich, and today we are talking about public speaking. So, we are going to discuss coffee, giving a speech, speaking speed, other speaking qualities, and other factors in public speaking. I'm just getting started, waiting for people to join. I think YouTube takes just a minute or two to send out notifications. So we'll just hang fire for a moment, and I will start in a minute. How's everybody doing? Hello there, Dr. Archu. Didn't see you in the other stream. Hello, Daisy, Manuel, Pallavi, Pili C, Daniele Pesky, Zoya. Fantastic. It's good you're here, Daisy, because this was inspired by you. Lots of things inspire me when I'm making English classes. In this case, this was inspired by a conversation I had with Daisy. So, let's start by talking about coffee. And I know it doesn't seem relevant to talk about coffee in relation to public speaking, but it is, because coffee is our context and public speaking is a function. So we need a context, right? So, caffeine, coffee, tea or Coca-Cola. I have some questions for you. Question 1. How much caffeine do you drink? Answers in the chat. How much caffeine do you drink? Answers in the chat. How much caffeine do you drink? Pallavi says, I don't drink coffee at all. How about tea? Or how about cola, Coca-Cola? Or energy drinks like Monster? Do you drink any of that stuff? Daniele says, for health, it's better not to drink coffee. Well, I'm not so sure about that. Where did you get that from, Daniele? What is the problem with coffee? Tell me what the problem is with coffee. Let's see. I will check. Ashley Chen says, I drink a grand latte. And Reem says, I don't drink coffee. I only drink juice. Renit says, I think not so much because I don't drink coffee and energy drinks. I just drink hot chocolate or cocoa. All right. How do you feel when you drink coffee or tea or caffeine? So everybody tell me, how do you feel when you drink caffeine? How does your body feel? What changes? Does anything change? How do you feel when you drink coffee or tea or cola? Daisy says, I'm high after drinking tea. Domenico says, Rich, it's funny you should ask because I'm definitely addicted to coffee. I drink 3 to 4 cups of coffee per day to get my brain functioning properly. My word. And Anawat says, 1 cup of coffee perks me up for the day. Fantastic. Manuel says, instead, I have herbal tea and chamomile. That's great. Daniele says, cola has too much sugar. What about Coke Zero or Diet Coke? And Daniele says, caffeine causes a problem for sleeping. Yes, it does. But if you drink caffeine in the morning, then it tends to be better. Siri says, my heart trembles after drinking coffee. My word. Yeah, that means you're drinking too much, Siri. Manuel says, coffee is like a slap on the face, a slap in the face by Sharon Stone. And Pallavi says, when I drink coffee, I feel dizzy. And Daisy says, Diet Coke still has caffeine. Just look at the label. Yeah, Daisy, I know it still has caffeine, but someone said it has too much sugar. So I said, how about Diet Coke with no sugar? I think that the whole purpose of Coke is caffeine. If you have caffeine-free Coke, I don't know what you're drinking. It's the same with caffeine-free coffee. I don't get that. I don't drink coffee, but I like the smell. Okay, here's the final question about coffee right now. Can coffee help with sports? Can coffee help with sports? By the way, everybody, smash that like button. Smash that like button. If you're enjoying the class, and if you're not enjoying the class, then say something in the live chat and I'll do my best. I don't know. Julia says, I used to drink coffee during my graveyard shift. Oh, Julia had a graveyard shift. Graveyard shift means you work very late in the night. Russian cardiologists do recommend coffee, says Alexander. I think most nutritionists acknowledge that some coffee is beneficial. Coffee takes away water, and that's not good for sports. Oh, Zoya. Ooh, are you sure? Dr. Archie says maybe it can help in sports. And Ashley Chen says, I heard it helps with metabolism. And Daisy says, no, I don't think so. Athletes need dopamine. So dopamine, Daisy, is a feel-good chemical that makes you want to do something. It's very important in motivation, but I don't think dopamine has a performative effect necessarily, unless performance is related to mood. If I'm quite honest, I think I perform worse when I have dopamine. So, for example, without dopamine, then I focus and I try my best. With dopamine, I kind of spaz out. So I'm kind of like, oh, so good. Oh, so good. And then I don't really perform so well, right? So it's like if I eat a whole ice cream, like a whole tub of Haagen-Dazs, and I'm like, oh, Haagen-Dazs, Haagen-Dazs. And then I eat the whole thing and I'm like, oh, that's so good. That's so good. And then I can't do any work. So actually, I'm not sure that dopamine helps with that. Actually, it's probably partly due to sugar crash as well. Right, everybody. So I'm going to show you a text. Look at the text and answer 2 questions. Where is it from? Do you agree with the opinion in the text? Why and why not? So read the text. Where is it from? Do you agree with the opinion in the text? Why and why not? All right, here's the text. You have 2 minutes to read and answer the questions. Lumi says, I think chocolate is better than coffee. There are varieties of coffee, but I'm into cappuccino the most among them. Yeah, I like cappuccino, but recently I've just started to have black Americano, no milk, no sugar. And actually, I've enjoyed a few espressos recently. Whew, that's great. I love espresso. I think espresso is the connoisseur's choice. Wouldn't you agree, Mr. LaFauci? Daisy Lee says, chances are the text is from a TED Talk. Oh, nice. It's pretty good, Daisy. Nice try, Lumi, but Daisy got it. It's from a TED Talk. Daniele says the text comes from a university study. Really? I don't know how you got that. It's quite argumentative. Like, would you start a university study with a rhetorical question? Did you know that coffee is one of the most popular beverages in the world, has surprising benefits? That's not really a study type language, is it? It's designed to get your attention. So it's not very academic or neutral, I think. Anawat says it's probably from an article in a sports magazine. I think that's also a good bet, but Daisy's is the best so far. So no one's really commented on if they agree with it. Do you agree with it? Look at that last line. I'm going to clearly demonstrate that caffeine is the most effective performance-enhancing drug, which is still permitted in World Championship sports. Do you agree? Okay, so I'm going to give you a little task now. I'm going to show you the text, and I want you to say where you would put pauses in the text. You can use an asterisk to show where you would put the pauses. I will put the text into the chat, which should allow you to copy and paste quite easily. Unfortunately, because YouTube sucks, then it doesn't actually fit. So I can only put part of it into the chat. Thank you very much for that, YouTube. That's really useful. So I'll paste a little bit of this into the chat, and I want you to mark where you would put the pauses with an asterisk. Okay, so we'll do it sentence by sentence. Where would you pause in the text? This is if you're speaking. So this is a TED Talk, a presentation, like Daisy said. It's a presentation about coffee. A presentation about coffee. This is the introduction to the presentation. I want you to mark where you would pause. For example, yesterday, I had an adventure. You see that? Yesterday, pause. I had an adventure. Pause. So we're looking for where you would pause in the text. And note that where you pause in public speaking is different to where you would pause in natural conversation. Because when we're speaking in public, we want to emphasize more and we want to be a bit more dramatic. And you can use pauses to engage people. So Lumi makes the comment that we pause after a comma. Yes, but no. So yes, as a general rule, but no, not necessarily. There's more to it than that. So Julia has said, did you know that... Wait, is that where your pause is? Oh, okay. Did you know that coffee, one of the most popular beverages in the world, has surprising benefits that you might not be aware of? Not only does it help wake you up in the morning... I'm not sure I agree with your pauses, Julia. Sorry. Maybe I read them incorrect. Oh, I'm sorry to hear that, Pallavi. I do hope that you get better. Rest up. Just rest. Drink lots of water. Good water. I'm going to give you a few more minutes to have a go. So Daisy says, did you know that coffee, one of the most popular beverages in the world, has surprising benefits that you might not be aware of? Not only does it help you wake up in the morning, Manuel is making a comment which is not part of the activity, and he says, after endless surveys, it is absolutely demonstrated that coffee is a powerful weapon when you are down. Even more being widely spread in the world, there are still people who deny these surveys. Well, Manuel, here's a comment for you. The science is never settled. In fact, there is no such thing as the science. Science is not a pronoun. There is not one science. Science is a constantly evolving attempt to discover the truth of reality. And it has changed time and time again in the past, will change time and time again in the future. So I absolutely accept that there are studies saying that caffeine has benefits, and I absolutely accept that it is possible they are wrong. I don't know, but I love coffee, and I hope they're right. This is a good one by Daisy. Today, however, I'm going to show you something even more astonishing. Okay, so a lot of people have had a go there. So please finish up and send your message. And we are going to listen to two versions of this presentation introduction. I want you to listen for the pauses. Are the pauses in the same place as your pauses? Or are they different? Which version do you prefer? We have version A and version B. We will listen to version A first. What do you notice about the speed of the speech? So we're going to listen to two versions of this presentation introduction. Are the pauses the same as yours or different? Which version do you prefer? And what do you notice about the speed of the speech in general? Okay? Let's listen to version A. One thing, there is no correct answer, okay? There's different ways of doing this, so don't worry about, oh, A is correct, B is wrong. No. I want to know which one do you prefer? And how similar or different is it to your version? Okay, here is A. Did you know that coffee, one of the most popular beverages in the world, has surprising benefits that you might not be aware of? Not only does it help wake you up in the morning, but studies show that it can boost your mood, improve your physical performance, and even aid in fighting some diseases. Today, however, I'm going to show you something even more astonishing. I'm going to clearly demonstrate that caffeine is the most effective performance-enhancing drug which is still permitted in world championship sports. Okay, so that was version A. Lumi says too slow. Let's listen to version B. Did you know that coffee, one of the most popular beverages in the world, has surprising benefits that you might not be aware of? Not only does it help you wake up in the morning, but studies show that it can boost your mood, improve your physical performance, and even aid in fighting some diseases. Today, however, I'm going to show you something even more astonishing. I'm going to clearly demonstrate that caffeine is the most effective performance-enhancing drug which is still permitted in world championship sports. Okay, so they were the two versions of that presentation, and now I would like you to give your opinion about these. So which one do you prefer? What do you notice about the way that the speaker uses the speed? So lots of people prefer version B, which I find quite interesting. This might be an excellent time for a poll. Which version do you prefer? Let's have a look. Let's see how many people prefer version B, because a lot of people seem to prefer version B. Ahmad says, smash that like button. Thank you, Ahmed. Oh, I'm sorry. The poll just says yes and no. Okay. Let's try that again. Daisy says the poll is wrong. Thank you, Daisy. The poll was very wrong. I like the way people voted anyway. That was fun. Which version do you prefer? Yes. Okay. So lots of people are saying that B is more energetic. They prefer the speed of B. Does anyone prefer A? So the thing is, I don't think that like A is wrong and B is right. I don't agree with that. I think that they are just two different styles. So I'm not saying one is better than the other, but I'm just giving you an example. What's the purpose of that activity? Why did we do that? The purpose is you listen and identify the pauses. That is the purpose of the activity. We listen and you think about those pauses. So it's a learner training activity. It's an activity to help train you as a learner of English to listen for features of speech. And this particular feature of speech that we're focusing on is the pauses. So what you'll find by listening to pauses is that you start to command your language more and use pauses when you're speaking. Now, did anyone notice anything about the speed in general? Version A sounds like a robot. Is it that bad? Did you know that coffee, one of the most popular beverages in the world, has surprising benefits that you might not be aware of? Yeah, maybe version A does sound a bit like an amateur actor doing a coffee commercial. Let's see if I can do it better. I'm going to do that speed, but I'm going to try and do it better as a presentation. All right? Hello, everybody. My name is Professor Reach, and I'm going to talk to you about something very interesting today. Did you know that coffee, one of the most popular beverages in the world, has surprising benefits that you might not even be aware of? Okay, it's tough. It's really tough to do that naturally at slow speed. So maybe you're right. Maybe it's a bit too slow. Okay. But I did that deliberately because I wanted everyone to notice the change in speed. So notice how when you talk, especially when you're public speaking, you can change the speed to all different levels. You can be like, hello, everybody, and welcome to my talk. Now, listen to this. Right? And you can, by changing the speed as you talk and deliver your public speech, you can create this dramatic energy that gets people's attention. And that's really part of the idea with this. So, let's move on. I'm going to show you paragraph 2. So this is the next part of our presentation. So we have the introduction, and then we move on to the next bit. And if possible, I want you to say it out loud. So if you have an opportunity at home now, you can say this out loud. Vary your speed of speech. So slow, pause, fast, slow. Okay. Use the range of speed and practice out loud. Okay. So try that if you have the opportunity now. If you are alone, or you have a place where you can speak English out loud, then try this. Try to read this naturally in a presentation way, varying your speed and pausing. Okay? All right. What do you think about that? I'm going to Yeah, Lumi says it was fun. It is fun, isn't it? It's fun to experiment with different speeds and with pauses. So let me try now. I'll try. Imagine the world's top athletes are on the start line. Their hearts are racing, adrenaline pumping, focused on the goal ahead. Now, what if I told you that a simple cup of coffee could be their secret weapon? Yeah, you heard me right. Caffeine. That's an ingredient you can find easily anywhere in our daily lives. Can actually offer that critical performance boost that athletes need. Not talking about steroids. I'm not talking about some weird new fancy chemical which gives you energy. I'm actually talking about caffeine, which I'm drinking right now from a coffee cup. So you'll notice that when I did that demonstration then, I also did something else. Did anyone notice in the chat? I varied the speed, but I did another thing. What did I do? Daisy says, don't we need to add dramatic facial expressions when delivering public speeches? You know, it's interesting, Daisy, about public speeches. What I would say is there are many, many things that you can do to make a public speech more interesting, but you don't need to do any of them. And after this, we're going to look at 3 different public speakers, and hopefully I won't get a copyright strike on my channel. But we'll look at 3 famous speakers, and you'll see that they all have different styles and different things that they do. But yeah, I mean, facial expressions can be great, but also bear in mind that many people in the audience might be too far to really see your facial expressions. It depends on the audience. How close are they? But yeah, facial expressions are obviously an advantage if you can. But, you know, there's lots of things to think about. We don't need to do everything. So Riam says pausing to make a point. Yeah, Lumi says pauses are longer sometimes. Your voice sounds different when speaking some words. Yes, Lumi. So I'm varying my intonation as well. And I actually have an example here. We can listen to this example, and you'll hear in this one, listen to the intonation for this one. Imagine the world's top athletes standing on the start line. Their hearts racing, adrenaline pumping, focused on the goal ahead. Now, what if I told you that a simple cup of coffee could be their secret weapon? Did you hear the change in intonation there? So with the start, we've got imagine the world's top athletes. And then when we get to the next bit now, what if I told you that a simple cup of coffee could be their secret weapon? Suddenly I go into the kind of, what if I told you intonation? You know, that intonation shift is quite prominent and noticeable. And if you listen to really powerful TED Talk speakers, you'll hear them doing that. So a lot of people, Kashata, hello, it's super late. Well, smash that like button, Kashata, for being super late. So lots of people are saying highlight words. Thank you, Pili. Daniele, you put stress on many words. Mina says you emphasize special things. Asmene says raising and falling intonation. So it's interesting. No one has actually noticed the idea that I had. Right? Which was, I didn't read the script word for word. I changed lots of the words. Because for me, personally, reading a script word for word makes it sound so unnatural. So I look at the script and then I just say something in English that's more or less the script, right? So if you listen again to me doing this naturally and listen for like words that I put in the script, I change the script just because I think it sounds better when you speak. It does for me anyway. Imagine the world's top athletes standing on the start line. Their hearts are racing. Adrenaline is pumping around their body. They're focused on the goal ahead. Now, what if I told you that a simple cup of coffee, like the one I've got right here, could be one of the most important ingredients for professional athletes in that situation? Yeah, that's right. I'm talking about coffee, an ingredient found all throughout our daily lives. This could be the magic performance pill that takes a professional athlete to the next level. So personally, I find that when you improvise a bit and add words into the script, it comes out much more naturally. Well, Daisy, that's the point. So that's why we have a script. So if we get nervous and forget, then we can go to the script. But the point is that the script is like your crutches, but sometimes you can let go of the crutches and go. Mina, I don't have a natural speaking ability. I learned this. And that's why I'm teaching you now. Teaching presentations and public speaking is one of my special abilities as a language teacher. It's something I specialize in. Lots of students come to me for personal classes on presentation and one-to-one classes on presentation and public speaking. Oh, Manuel would like everyone to know that this is his arm. Thank you, Manuel, for sending your arm in. I asked Manuel for a photo of his arm, and he sent me that. Very good. Well done, Manuel. So, let's move on, and we're going to watch some videos, and I hope I don't get a copyright strike. So I've got 3 little videos for us to watch. Now, don't worry about understanding the videos. In fact, one of them is in Spanish. So that's fun. But we're not going to pay attention really to the content. Rather than the content, I want you to focus on what the presenters do. So these people that we'll watch, what do they do? And we're going to think about their public speaking ability. So here's some things I want you to make notes about. The speed of their speech, pauses, the intonation. Intonation. Okay, that was singing. Intonation. 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 Their intonation. The way they move. How do they move on stage? Right? Not only body language, not only gestures. These are gestures. But how do they move? Do they walk around, back and forth? Where do they go? And also, really important, how do they react to the audience? So what does the audience do, and how do they change their speech because of that? All right? So that's the task. And we're going to start with this video in a moment, if I get this right. Can Rich do this? It's extra level skill here. Oh, he's done it. I'm sure you recognize this gentleman. So let's see what he's like. Here we go.
I'm sorry that open doc's a casualty along the way, and I readily admit there are many things in life that I don't have the faintest idea what I'm talking about. So I apologize for that too. But there's a whole lot of people working super, super hard right now at Apple. You know, Avi, John, Garino, Fred. I mean, the whole team is working, burning the midnight oil, trying to, and people, you know, hundreds of people below them, to execute on some of these things, and they're doing their best. And I think that what we need to do, and some mistakes will be made, by the way. Some mistakes will be made along the way. That's good, because at least some decisions are being made along the way. And we'll find the mistakes, we'll fix them. And I think...
All right. So what did you think about that? That was Mr. Jobs, a rather young Steve Jobs. Daisy said, can you increase the volume? Okay, let's try it. Should we try it again? Let me try this. Okay, that's about the max I can go without using a compressor. I could use a compressor. Let's see. Try again.
You know, I'm sorry that open doc's a casualty along the way, and I readily admit there are many things in life that I don't have the faintest idea what I'm talking about. So I apologize for that too. But there's a whole lot of people working super, super hard right now at Apple. You know, Avi, John, Garino, Fred. I mean, the whole team is working, burning the midnight oil, trying to, and people, you know, hundreds of people below them, to execute on some of these things, and they're doing their best. And I think that what we need to do, and some mistakes will be made, by the way. Some mistakes will be made along the way. That's good, because at least some decisions are being made along the way. And we'll find the mistakes, we'll fix them. And I think...
Okay, so what do you notice there about Steve Jobs? What do you notice about him as a presenter? So Zoya says lots of body language and intonation. Yeah, his intonation is actually quite high. Steve Jobs doesn't have a particularly deep voice. He has quite a high voice. But he uses his intonation a lot. The other thing is he uses a lot of body language. His arms are going. And did you notice about his movement? He walks. He walks around the stage. Now, he does something that body language coaches often say don't do. He kind of has this body language, like this, which is like, people say this is closed body language, right? And Steve Jobs does this a lot. So the important thing to note about that is there's no rules. There's no real rules about body language, okay? Someone can tell you this is closed, right? But Steve Jobs, one of the greatest public speakers of our time, did this like all the time. He's very, very often like this. And also, he does this. On stage. He does that on stage, right? Cross legs and hand like this. And then like this. Right? And then he looks down. And then he looks up. And he stands up and opens up a bit. And you notice the change, which I find interesting, right? So, you know, body language it's not always about all the time being like, hello world, right? It's like you change it. You use different things at different moments. So that was Mr. Jobs. Manuel says he never looked at the audience. He does look at the audience, but not all the time. He moves swift. He seems confident, says Ahmad. That's an interesting comment. Why does he seem confident? He's an eloquent speaker, says Daisy. Non-verbal communication. Do you know why he seems confident, Steve Jobs? Because he's so natural. He's just being himself and talking naturally. He's not relying on these pre-scripted or nonsense answers. It's like he's speaking as himself on stage, and it comes across like quite confident because of that. Yeah, that's right, Akami. It's funny, isn't it? Like, this is a very old video of him, but even in his recent speeches, he has similar mannerisms. So, let's move on to our next speaker. Our next speaker is one of my favourites. This is a chap called Ken Robinson. So once again, focus on what he does, and I'd like you to make notes in the chat about these areas here. The speed of his speech, pauses, intonation, the way he moves, body language, and so on. Okay, let's get Ken on. I like Ken. Unfortunately, he's also dead. A real shame.
I had a great story recently, I love telling it, of a little girl who was in a drawing lesson. She was 6 and she was at the back drawing, and the teacher said this little girl hardly ever paid attention. And in this drawing lesson, she did. And the teacher was fascinated. She went over to her and she said, "What are you drawing?" And the girl said, "I'm drawing a picture of God." And the teacher said, "But nobody knows what God looks like." And the girl said, "They will in a minute."
Okay, I know you're all desperate to listen to that again so you can try to understand it, so I will play it again. But again, we are focusing more on how he behaves as a presenter rather than the content. So we want to know, how does he use his voice? How does he use his face? And things like that, okay? Let's listen again. It's a story about a little girl, by the way. He starts by saying, I heard a story recently and I love telling it. It's about a little girl, okay? I heard a story recently and I love telling it. Let's listen.
I had a great story recently, I love telling it, of a little girl who was in a drawing lesson. She was 6 and she was at the back drawing, and the teacher said this little girl hardly ever paid attention. And in this drawing lesson, she did. And the teacher was fascinated. She went over to her and she said, "What are you drawing?" And the girl said, "I'm drawing a picture of God." And the teacher said, "But nobody knows what God looks like." And the girl said, "They will in a minute."
If you're wondering what the little girl said, by the way, she said, "They will in a minute." They will in a minute. So she's drawing a picture of God, and the teacher says to her, "Nobody knows what God looks like." And the little girl responds, "They will in a minute." So let's see the comments we have about Ken Robinson. Ashley Chen says he feels at ease. Lumi says speedy, fun, less gestures. That's right. And if you see Ken Robinson speaking, standing up, he doesn't move his hands very much. He keeps his hands kind of at his side. And with Ken, it's all about this bit. So he just kind of has his hands sort of at his side. He doesn't move his hands a lot like Steve Jobs. Ashley Chen pauses a short period to see the audience reaction. Joanna, eye contact with the audience. Yes, Ken is very good at that. You can see he's looking at people in the audience and kind of looking here and looking there as he tells his story. Julia, great sense of humour. He's a fun guy. Daisy, he looked left and right to make eye contact with the audience. Yeah, so kind of keeping the room. Manuel says, too much information quickly. No body language. 7 out of 10. It's not too much information quickly, Manuel. It's just that he's speaking English and it's quite difficult to follow. So it's difficult for non-natives to follow. He's a very fast speaker, but I think he's an excellent speaker. I don't think that was part where he was breaking the ice, actually. Although, yeah, it's kind of breaking the ice because it's a funny story. Yeah, come on, Manuel, 10 out of 10. Manuel has a high. Well, you know what's going to be interesting, Daisy? What does Manuel think of our Spanish speaker? He paused a little bit before throwing the punchline. He did, Anawat. Well done for noticing. And that's really one of the if you take anything from today's class, I want you to take the pauses. Look at how these public speakers use pauses, because all of them use pauses very well. Okay, so let's listen to the Spanish speaker. This is Francisco Franco. No, just kidding. We're going to listen to the Spanish speaker. I'm not sure if can I tell jokes like that? I don't know. Is Franco funny or kind of disaster? I don't know. Yeah, it's in the past. It's funny. Right, we're not going to do Franco. We're going to listen to a lovely gentleman called Emilio Duro. So you won't understand this, most people, because it is Spanish. But I want you to watch and listen and make notes on how he presents, okay? And later we will ask Manuel what the hell he was talking about, okay?
¿Por qué estoy aquí? Yo os lo explico muy rápido. Esto es fruto de las casualidades. Yo soy de un pequeño pueblo, perdón, una ciudad, pero que era pequeña, tengo 51 años. A los 51 años no estás en el mejor momento de tu vida, y esto va peor, ya lo veréis, pero gracias a Dios voy a intentar seguir estando vivo. Entonces, yo estudié económicas porque vengo de una ciudad pequeña y lo que más me importaba era poder asegurarme la vida. Teníamos en casa un pequeño comercio.
All right. I'll play it again. Poor old Emilio only got 30 seconds. The other speakers got more. Sorry, Emilio. But I'll play it again. What do you notice?
¿Por qué estoy aquí? Yo os lo explico muy rápido. Esto es fruto de las casualidades. Yo soy de un pequeño pueblo, perdón, una ciudad, pero que era pequeña, tengo 51 años. A los 51 años no estás en el mejor momento de tu vida, y esto va peor, ya lo veréis, pero gracias a Dios voy a intentar seguir estando vivo. Entonces, yo estudié económicas porque vengo de una ciudad pequeña y lo que más me importaba era poder asegurarme la vida. Teníamos en casa un pequeño comercio.
Okay. All right, so what did you guys notice about Emilio Duro? Not the best clip I could have chosen there. Emilio Duro is a very, very good speaker. Fast and boring, says Zoya. I speak Spanish and I didn't get any word from him though, says Okami. He speaks with his right hand. Yeah, that's true. Typical Spanish, says Asmena. Spanish sounds sexy, says Ashley Chen. He has one hand in his pocket, says Pili. He makes pauses. Yep, some. A myriad of body language, eye contact with the audience. Shall we see what Manuel says? Have you seen Emilio Duro, Manuel? He speaks quicker than me. He's greeting the audience count as usual. 5 out of 10. Facts about him and his family. I think, the problem there is it's the clip I chose. I chose the introduction. I should have gone a bit further because Emilio Duro is very entertaining, but he doesn't do much other than what he did there. So the interesting thing about Emilio Duro is it's the content he uses, and he does use pauses, but he speaks like a million miles an hour. Like always. He's always like just super fast all the time. But he's a very entertaining with his jokes and things like that. I've just noticed I've disappeared? Oh, there I am. Hello. All right. So we had some very interesting comments there about those different public speakers. So just to finish off, to round up our discussion of public speaking, I'd like you to discuss the advantages and disadvantages of these things. So take a look there, 1 to 4. What are the advantages and disadvantages of these things when giving a presentation? Advantages and disadvantages of these things when giving a presentation. Answers in the chat. We have using a script, speaking slowly, focusing on your body language, and interacting with the audience. I think all of these areas have advantages and disadvantages. Zoya says, if you stick to a script, you're not free to interact. I think that's a pretty poignant comment, and we did talk about that. Pilly says, if you read a script, you may not sound natural, but it helps to organize the ideas into paragraphs. Yeah, that's a good point, Pilly. But you could also use notes to organize your ideas. Daisy says, the advantage of interacting with the audience is that you'll grab their attention and they'll pay more attention to your speech. Lumi says, using the script only seems boring. Akami says, honestly, I'd give him 4 out of 10. Reem says, using a script gives you the chance to remember things. However, it could make you sound like a robot. Daisy says, the advantage of using a script is that you can still deliver a speech when you're nervous. Yes, that is the advantage of using the script, for sure. Ashley says, speak in your own words. Try not to speak sentence by sentence, or it'll sound tedious. Yeah, that's what I'd say. So by all means, use a script, but kind of you can add words, take words away. You have to be natural as you go. Manuel says, speaking slowly, people can get bored. Lumi says, we use body language to... that bloody emoji button always gets in the way on the chat. I don't know how to get rid of it. So once again, Lumi says, we use body language when we feel comfortable. Do you mean we naturally use body language when we feel comfortable? Zoya says, body language should be natural and not focused. Interesting. Joanna says, what does it mean by all means? So by all means, there's a few different things it can mean. By all means can mean by any method. But it can also mean go ahead. Like if you say, Rich, can I use your bathroom? And I can say, by all means, which means, yes, of course. Alexander says a script can be rehearsed many times to tune better variants. Okay. But what also can happen, Alexander, is if you keep saying the script, sometimes it can start to sound more robotic. Using a script may be more confident when the speaker doesn't have fluency, says Marta. Yes, I agree. I actually think scripts can be a useful aid, especially to people who are still not comfortable with public speaking yet. Sonia says the advantage of interacting is catching the audience's attention. Yes, That's why I'm interacting with you right now. Smash that like button. Anawat says, focusing on your body language enables you to communicate better. Sometimes people can understand you even if you don't say the words. So I find body language really interesting because I'm someone who, well, let me ask you. Let's have a poll. We'll have a poll here. How do you rate Prof. Rich body language? And obviously a bit weird because you can't actually see all my body. So you don't really know. But we're going to have 5, 4, 3, 2. No, wait. That doesn't work because YouTube sucks. So we'll have great, average, rubbish. All right. So how do you rate my body language? Go. See what you think. Say whatever you want, by the way. I don't care. Rich, will you give us Ginger, your cat? No, I won't, but I'll show you Ginger in a moment if you want. Is he here? Oh, he's here. They're both here. Speaking slowly is quite lame and boring. However, we all know that kings, queens, and presidents speak slowly to make a point. So if you want to make a point, you can speak slowly. It's interesting, isn't it, Reem? There's definitely a balance. I think if you speak too slowly, it can be super boring. But also, you can captivate and you can create moments by speaking slowly sometimes. Ha! Daisy says I rate 7 out of 10 because it's hard to see your facial expressions under your beard. That's the point, Daisy. So I can be angry, but you think I'm happy. Smash that like button. All right, so some people say average, some people say great. So let me tell you that when I was 20, I had like no body language. So I don't think I have any videos of me, but when I used to talk kind of like this. So just like this, basically. Blah, 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 blah. I'm talking. Blah, blah, blah. How are you? But you'll notice now, like I do a lot with my hands. I'm always gesturing and flailing about and all kinds. And you could talk about different reasons why that is. Like, is it because I lived in Spain for 9 years? Is it because I'm a communicative language teacher? Yes and yes. But also, it is something that I focused on when I was about 25. I did some body language work. So I think you need to have some awareness of body language in order to change it. You need to have some awareness of body language in order to change it. But then obviously, if you become too aware of your body language, as other people said, it can seem forced and blah, blah, blah. That's true. Yeah, I agree, Manuel. I know. I mean, I would have to stand up and stuff. Because if you see me on stage, sometimes I talk on stage. If you see me on stage or in class, I move a lot. Not just my arms, but I walk around a lot. I'm a walker. So on stage, I walk back and forward on the stage. And in the class, I walk all over the place. I walk behind students. I walk to the front, to the back, to the side. I go everywhere in the classroom. And I disappear as well. That's another trick I have in the classroom. I vanish. I'm still in the room, but I sort of disappear into the walls. Are any of my real students in the chat? You can verify. Teacher Rich disappears. Okay, Lumi's noticing all kinds of things that I don't know. People have said that I have good eyebrow control. That is natural. That's not something that I really trained. That just came. That I just have that. The best part of the lesson, teacher disappeared. You know why, Zoya? It's so I can monitor without people thinking that I'm monitoring. So I kind of listen and make notes to people speaking, but I don't want them to know that I'm listening. The advantage of interacting with the audience is it will make the audience feel vibrant and vigorous. All right, Julia. I think we'll board that. People joke that Italian people cannot speak without hand gestures. They can, but they can't speak about anything without speaking about the spaghetti. What do you do with the spaghetti? Can you lift up one eyebrow? Kind of, Daisy. I can also do one eyebrow down and one up, which is easier, actually. Just one up is more difficult. I can kind of do the other way as well. It's more difficult. Okay. I'll show you something I can do as well. Am I doing party tricks now? And the dancing monkey? Am I dancing enough for you? Ooh, 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 ooh. Okay. All right, go on. I'll do one more party trick. Are you ready? Congratulations, everybody. You just saw someone move their ears on the internet. The next time I do that will be after the channel is monetized, and it will cost you approximately $100 in super chats. Thank you. Julia says focusing on the body language may disrupt the speed of speech. Yeah, I mean, focusing on anything will disrupt everything else. That's what happens with focusing. Pure Care says you teach from teenage to old people accordingly. Do you know what the statistics of the channel say? They say that my current audience is heavily 35 to 45-year-old women from India. So hello to anyone from India who is 35 to 45 and a woman, because you are the majority audience on the channel. I don't know if those statistics are accurate, but yeah. It's funny, the channel's flipped. Back in the day, like 10 years ago when I started the channel, it was like 75% men, which I think reflects YouTube, because YouTube is heavily male-dominated. More men watch YouTube than women, still. But now the channel's about 60% women, 40% men, and the biggest age range is 35 to 45, which is interesting because I thought it was younger. It seems like I have so many like teenagers in the chat. Rich, you're the Indian king. Do I have that many Indian people in the chat right now? I know there's about three I can see. Not that many. And we've got all kinds. We've got Taiwanese, Vietnamese, Spanish. We've got South American, a couple of South Americans there. You look comfortable during your classes. I've been teaching for 15 years, Sonia. Imagine if I wasn't comfortable after 15 years. I give a class and I'm like, hello, students. We're going to learn English. That'd be weird, wouldn't it, after 15 years? Pallavi says, I'm from India. Yes. You're who I'm thinking of. Joanna says, I'm 53. Where are you from, Joanna? And Lumi says, I'm from Romania. Yeah, there's a few Eastern Europeans. There's a Russian. A couple of Russians, actually. There's a couple of Russians who aren't here today. No, I'm not. I'm from Taiwan. Yes, Ashley, I know. I know you are. That's why I said we have a Taiwanese in chat. You're representing. I think there's another person from Taiwan who watches a lot. You and someone else. You know, one of my managers is Taiwanese, but she's lived in England for 30 years. She's an old Taiwanese lady. She keeps talking about retiring, but I don't think she wants to. She enjoys it too much. And there we go. Eleanor's Russian. All right, guys, we've got off topic a little bit. So thank you very much for your comments about presenting. I would really like you to reflect on the things you've learned today. And it is time for homework, to talk about homework. So choose a topic, and you can see the topics there are below. Choose a topic. Make notes. So notes, not a script, but notes. I'm going away from the script here, but you can make notes. So your notes are your crutch. Okay? What are notes compared to a script, by the way? Let me just demonstrate what notes are. So let's take our text from before, this text, okay? So that's our text, okay? So what notes do we have? Your notes will be something like this. Something like that. So you can see I'm just writing keywords, short words, and the idea is that by looking at those phrases, it reminds me what to say. So that's the idea of notes. So if I look at that, let's see if I can do this now. So I'll look at that and I'll give the presentation. I'll have to look here. So let's pretend the audience is here and I'll look down. Let's go. Okay. Good afternoon, everybody. So I'm going to talk about a daily beverage that we're all very familiar with. It's one of the most popular beverages, actually, one of the most popular drinks in the world. But I think some of the things I'm going to tell you about this today are actually quite shocking. This is a beverage which can improve your mood. It can improve your physical sporting performance. And we actually see that as health benefits now as well. And it's probably something that most of you drink like every day. But you know, one of the most amazing things about this drink is that it actually has performance enhancing qualities for professional athletes. And that's what I'm going to show to you in today's talk. Okay, so that was me using the notes to speak on the spot. And that's the idea of using notes, so that it sounds a bit more natural, sounds a bit more like a real conversation. So, homework. So make notes, record yourself giving an introduction. It's just a paragraph, okay? Just an introduction, 2 minutes maximum. It's just the introduction to the presentation. It's not the whole presentation. If you speak for longer than 3 minutes, whatever, I will simply stop it at 2 minutes. The reason I want to do that is because, well, whatever. If you're really interested, then we'll listen to it. I just want to give it a time limit. I don't want someone to send in a 5-minute, 10-minute, 30-minute MP3, okay? Because maybe 6 or 7 students will do the homework and everyone wants to get a chance to listen. So there's some topics there for you to choose from. Terrible food, intelligent animals, weird places, unique hobbies, surprising facts, or your own idea. That's the homework for today. Make sure you send this to professorrich@gmail.com. Notice the spelling is profesor, which is a Spanish word meaning teacher. Okay, so it's professorrich with one F, one S. In English, the word has two S's. That's why I changed the name of the channel to Prof Rich, because I didn't like how people thought I had misspelt professor. It's because I was living in Spain when I started the channel. Okay? All right, so that's the homework. We're moving on now to question time. And I've got plenty of time for questions. So if you've got any questions about learning English, I'm happy to answer those questions. You can download the notes from today right now from that link. That is a PDF with all of the things that we've talked about today. And this live stream will be available on the channel for you to watch. I will be here next week, probably. I'm on holiday, but I will be here probably. So does anyone have any questions about learning English or about anything? How can I speak for 2 minutes? You'll be fine, Anawat. You can practice. You can speak like 3 or 4 times, but just try to speak kind of naturally. Lumi says, have a nice holiday. Yes. Thank you, Lumi. I hope so. When will you check the homework, teacher? Next Saturday, Pallavi, or in like 2 weeks. Daisy says, don't you think Donald Trump is a powerful speaker? Yes, he is a mega powerful speaker. He's so confident, and people pick up on that. What's your ideal holiday, says Zoya. My ideal holiday is going to the beach and doing nothing. Especially a really beautiful beach with like no people as well. I prefer holidays with less people. Not big crowds of people. That's not my thing. Plus beer. No beer, Zoya. I don't drink alcohol. Don't you like mountains, says Pallavi. Do I like mountains? Can I put my feet on my desk here? Does that look bad? Do I like mountains? Mountains? Yeah, sure, I like mountains. Why not? I don't often go to the mountains, but I do like them. I think they're beautiful. Daisy says, visit the beach during the winter. No. You just need to find a good beach. You can find beaches that aren't busy. Just don't go to the busy beaches. With beer for sure, says Ashley. Yeah. If you want. Obama's good as well. Biden's boring. Well, Biden's like 97, so obviously. But yeah, Obama is a great public speaker for sure. Alexander says, news consumption have been changed a lot. No, it has. News consumption has, and it's not been. News consumption has changed a lot. Has changed a lot. News consumption has changed a lot since 20 years ago. News consumption has changed a lot since 20 years ago. So, has changed. So, active sentence and has, not have. Marta says, thanks, teacher. Have a good holiday. You deserve it. Thank you very much, Marta. Daniele says, a beach like Brighton. Is Brighton that good? It's all right. It's too busy anyway. Really busy beach, Brighton. Anawat says, I did it last week. It's worth trying. Just sit back and relax on the beach. Yeah. Pallavi says, do you like BTS? Oh, yeah. BTS. I listen to them 20 hours a day. Manuel says, news consumption. Okay. Lumi says, good luck. Goodbye to everybody. It was nice to meet you all. Thank you again for the lesson, Rich. Thank you, Lumi. Thank you for coming. Hope to see you again sometime. Pallavi says, I think I asked this question before. Who's your favorite teacher? It's kind of difficult to say who's my favorite teacher because it sounds like a question that you ask to someone who is studying in the same institution as you. So I don't know your teachers, so we have no reference point. But if you say to me, who is your favorite famous educator? There's a few. Number 1, Jamie Keddy. Number 2, bit stuck. Jordan Peterson. Number 3, this is not in order, this is just names coming to my head of really, really good teachers. Number 3. See, I can say people I know in real life, but you don't know them, so it has to be famous. Famous teachers. Another famous teacher who I really like. I mean, Ken Robinson is really good. Ken Robinson's fantastic. Dan O'Reilly. Dan O'Reilly. He is a damn good teacher. Because, you see, Dan O'Reilly stands out because he is a professor and university lecturer. And normally, university lecturers are really terrible teachers. Can you share some phrases that we can use for speaking, says Mina. Mina, that's way too general. You need more specific context. So tell me about a specific situation when you need phrases. So in what situation do you need more phrases? And then I'll give you some for that situation. Thank you. Have a nice holiday, says Alexander. Do you fancy surfing, says Ashley. I did surfing in Mexico. On my own. And, yeah, I think I was okay. But some Mexican instructor got annoyed with me because I didn't pay him for lessons. And then he said I was dangerous and I should pay him for lessons. And I said no. Pallavi says, who is your favorite teacher when you're in college or university? In my university, Stephen Makin was an excellent philosophy lecturer. Yeah, he was good. Otherwise, I haven't had a great deal of good teachers. My journalism teacher in college was pretty good. His name was... Terry Goody or something? I can't remember. He was a great journalism teacher, though. But I hated journalism. I became a qualified journalist, and then I realized that journalists are lying scumbags. And journalism is the worst profession you can ever do. And if you're a journalist, then you should quit your job and do something else. That's my opinion on journalism and journalists. And this is as someone who is a journalist, because I qualified as a journalist. And I worked as a journalist. And I hated it. Daisy says, what about Andrew Tate? Oh no. He's become a role model for many youngsters. Andrew Tate is such a controversial character. I'm not sure I can even comment. But I will admit that the guy has got charisma coming out of his eyeballs. He is so charismatic. But he's a bit culty. I know he gets a bad rap from the press, but he cultivates a kind of personality worship, and he uses it a bit much. So I don't want to comment further about Andrew Tate. It's so controversial. Pallavi says, why do girls like to learn from male teachers? I don't know. Is that true, Pallavi? I think it's important to have teachers who are male and teachers who are female. I'm not someone who thinks that every profession needs a gender balance. I do not agree with that. But teachers, yes. Teachers is something where a gender balance works. It's important. It's really important, especially for young people, to have men and women in their educational circle. It's one circumstance when it's really important, because it is education. But no, when it comes to mining, I think that is a job for men. Sorry, ladies, if you want to go down the mine, you can. But personally, I think that men are better suited to mining in general, For example, I don't think we should have 50% women going down the mines. But for teachers, I think it's good to try to have some balance. If you have all female teachers, I think that will be a problem. If you have all male teachers, I think that will be a problem. Whether you're a man or a woman yourself, it doesn't matter. I think you need to have both those influences in your educational life. It's interesting because where I work right now, I am one of 2 men teachers in the teaching staff. There are, I think, 14 women and 2 men. And I think that is quite common in education, especially in teaching. Maybe less in lecturing, but in teaching is really common. And bear in mind, I teach adults. So I'm teaching at an institution where it's 16 plus. And it's still like that. It's worse when you go younger. If you go to nursery school, infant school, it's like all female teachers. Pilly says, thank you. Bye, Rich. Bye-bye, Pilly. Pallavi says, do you still talk to your teachers? No, not at all. But, it was a long time ago. Daisy says, Pallavi, don't stereotype girls like that. Carrie from OOE is one of my favourite teachers besides Leanne. Yeah, I mean, I thought that was a bit of a stereotype as well. And as I said, I think people like to have all different kinds of teachers. I mean, if I think about school, I think I preferred my male teachers, but not because they were men. It's because they were good teachers. And the female teachers I had were not good teachers. But it didn't matter that they were men, because at university, I've had great female teachers, or better female teachers than male teachers. So I think, yeah, I wouldn't say I have a favorite of whether it's a man or a woman teaching me, but I think that children and young people should have a balance, definitely. I tell you what though, I do have some controversial things to say about mixed gender education. You know, you notice when we get towards the end of the stream, I'll be a bit more controversial because, hey, no one's going to watch 90 minutes of the stream if they don't like the content. I'll tell you then, I have very little evidence to back this up, but I think that all schools, or at least it should be an option, should have some classes that are gender separated, especially at certain ages. And I'm not saying all classes. I think that's a big mistake. If you separate boys and girls in all classes, that's going to have very negative social consequences. And we see that all the time. When you get a girl or a boy who goes to single gender school, you can see how they have lots of trouble dealing with the opposite gender. But I do think that some classes, it would be beneficial to have an only boy class and an only girl class. And there's a few reasons for that. One is that men and women, when they're younger and developing especially, they learn in different ways and they're motivated in different ways. So boys, they really need competition. And I know that a lot of young girls are very competitive as well. But boys need it. Like 14, 15-year-old boys, they need that competition. Like, who's the smartest in the class? Who's got the best grade, you know? They really need it. And yeah, maybe girls need it too, but in a different way. Like maybe it needs to be a little bit less in your face, you know? Another difference is boys are really good at intense study for exams. Like they're generally better at really intensely study for the exam and then doing an exam. And in general, girls are much better at coursework. And I don't just mean in terms of assessment, but I mean in terms of acquisition. So coursework helps girls to learn effectively, in general, more effectively. And exams, in general, help boys to learn more effectively. I don't mean than coursework, I mean than they do for girls. So, for example, if you had, say, a physics course for girls, then you might have like 80% coursework, 20% exam. And if you had a physics course for boys, maybe you have 60% coursework, 40% exam. And I think with a system like that, we would get better results and potentially better educated people. This is just random nonsense that I'm talking about. I have no evidence to back this up at all. But I would love to try an experiment with stuff like that. Hey, if anyone wants to give me like £1 million to do a PhD, then maybe I'll try it out. So Daisy said, I studied only in co-gender schools, nothing wrong. Being surrounded by men makes me more competitive. It's an interesting take, Daisy. Yeah, I have only ever taught in co-gender schools, and I have only ever learnt in co-gender schools. I have no experience at all with gender segregated schools. So I don't know anything about gender segregated schools. But I just have some opinions based on some of my experience. And honestly, Daisy, to be honest, it's the young boys that I'm worried about. I think girls are doing okay anyway, but boys seem to have a problem right now. And I'm not sure that we can address that problem in mixed gender classrooms, because I think it might be an ingredient that boys need that would be harmful to girls. That's why I'm suggesting it. I think there's the idea of a boys-only educational space would be beneficial to a lot of disillusioned and struggling young men. Boys are leaving education, and that's a problem for society. It's a problem for us, and it's definitely a problem for you young people, because you do not want uneducated men in your society. It goes to bad places. So we want men to stay in education, really. And it's quite worrying that so many men are not going to university. It's really worrying for the future. And also, you have to think, Daisy, you want to find a partner who's educated. You want a man who's at your education level, right? Well, those men are becoming more of a minority, especially the young generation. So if you want a man with a university degree, that's going down. A master's going down. PhD going down. It's all going down. So there's going to be a lot more people competing for that small number of men who are well educated. And that's not good. So something needs to change. But I don't know what it is. I mean, it's not my area of expertise. Actually, you guys probably know that I have a podcast on education, and the podcast is called ELT Under the Covers. And there is an expert on this, on gendered education, and he's specifically focusing on this problem I've just spoke about. And I invited him on the show, and he said he would respectfully decline because at this time he didn't want to attract too much attention to himself because the issue is so controversial, and he was worried that going on a podcast would cause some sort of complaints to his institution, and he wouldn't be able to continue studying that area. So that was quite sad. Anyway, let's talk about something else. Sonia says, it's interesting listening to you talking about your experience as a teacher. Well, I hope so. Thank you very much. Julia says, I'm an introvert, but I became an extrovert when the work environment takes place. I know what you mean, Julia. I'm kind of similar. I like to be introverted and I like to spend time with myself, but obviously I'm doing a stream now that had 40 people in it about 30 minutes ago. So yeah, and also hundreds of people will watch online. Boys prefer skillful technique than academic stuff. Yeah, but Ashley, that's kind of new. That wasn't always the case. It's like the last 30 years, it's gone more like that. But you're right. Now boys, they want to leave and learn how to be a plumber, you know? JV says, when you used to have great philosophy teachers at university, why haven't you stayed on that topic besides English in your teaching? I have. I am still a philosopher, 100%. It is a base part of my identity that I am a philosopher and a philosophy student. And I think that you can probably tell, actually, from the way that I teach and the kind of topics that I do, that I am heavily inspired by philosophy, and that the way that I think contains sort of philosophical elements. Now, if you're asking why aren't you studying a doctorate or a master's in philosophy, I didn't get the grades. And you know why I didn't get the grades? It's because I was lazy. I had very good grades in university, but I just couldn't be bothered working hard. So I got a 2-1, and a 2-1 is good enough to do a master's or a PhD, but you need loads of money. And I never had loads of money. If I'd worked a bit harder and got a first, then I could have got funding. But at the end of the day, we can't have those kinds of regrets, because if I had done things differently, I wouldn't be the same person. I wouldn't have gone to Spain. I wouldn't have gone to Vietnam. I wouldn't have met my future wife. You know, there's all kinds of things that would be different about my life. So, you know, you have to just go with the flow, don't you? And philosophy will always be a part of me. And I absolutely love my job as a language teacher. So Daisy says, Rich, having a higher education does not mean a person can deal with real life situations. After all, characteristics and intentions are vital in choosing a partner. I agree, Daisy. It's interesting you should say that. But it's, again, this is a stereotype, and I don't want to upset anyone. It's just a stereotype. But in general, it does seem that a lot of women, and not all, not even the majority, but let's say maybe 30%, okay, they want their partner to have better education than them, make more money than them, be taller than them, be stronger than them, and some other gender stereotypes. I know it's not everyone. But I'm just saying there's a general thing there. And for men, kind of the opposite, right? And again, not everyone. Some men want a woman who earns more money and is taller than them and has a higher education. And I've got good friends in relationships like that. But I'm saying that if you average it, then in general, it's kind of the other way, right? So if you imagine that on average, that's what people look for, but there's a supply problem with educated men, then it means you're going to have a lot of highly educated women who are unhappy because they can't find what they think is a partner at their level. You understand? And there's a lot of psychology about this. I mean, I agree with you that real experience and real skills are much more important than higher education. In fact, now more than ever, you know, I think universities, they're almost a scam, you know, like they're making money for free, for fun. And the teaching quality is awful, you know, really, it's really bad in this country. And this country is supposed to have great reputation for universities. But I tell you, either it was always a scam or the quality's gone down, because I tell you, it's not good. It's not good now, right? The teaching quality is not good. The course quality is not good. You can get online courses that are way better than the things they teach you at university. So I agree with that. But it's the prestige of that paper. It gives you a status. And if status is important in the relationship, then, well, that's another topic. Yep, that's right. Thank you, Daisy. I have been in touch with Carrie, and we are going to do something either September or October. So we're talking. I'm talking to Carrie, and we'll do something in September or October. Mainly because I'm on holiday, can't arrange something right now. But it'll be fun, I'm sure. Thank you, Renitz. I don't know what the comment's about, but that's great. I mean, the experience of university was really important for me and a great experience. But bloody hell, was it worth £16,000? A debt that I still have, by the way. Well, not all of it, but some of it. It's like, I don't know. I mean, I've done free courses on the internet, which are at least as good as the teaching I got at university. And that was 15 years ago. 15 years ago. And now the quality is worse. And the price is higher. So it's all just about that status. They just want that piece of paper with the stamp. Cambridge. Yeah, it's a good point, Daisy. I agree with you. But at the end of the day, also, if you go to a good university and you get a qualification in civil engineering, you have a good job for life. You know? So, yeah, it's true, but I don't know. It's a complicated discussion. But yeah, I think universities should be ashamed of the low quality of their teaching. I'll go that far. Right. We have been streaming now for 1 hour 50 minutes. I would really like to go for another 10 because then it'll be a 2-hour stream, which is, I think, the longest that I've done. I can really feel my voice going, but go on. Any more questions? We've got 10 minutes. Desperate questions about life, the universe, and everything. Whatever you want. Oh, God. I went for 2 hours and 20 minutes when I did English for Success. What? Oh, God. I don't know if I can do that. I didn't realize I went that long. 2 hours and 20 minutes. Mamma mia. All right, I don't think I'm going to go much longer then. I'm not going to beat that record today. Something that I do want to do in the future, I'll tell you guys about this, is I want to start bringing you guys on to the stream. So basically, I will open up Zoom and people can join, and one by one, I'll bring you in and chat to you on stream, and then we'll go from there. So that is something I want to do in the future. I did kind of have it in my head to maybe do it today, but I forgot, and it's kind of too late now. I've run out of steam. And if I bring you on live, if I bring people on live, I need to be really focused and on the ball, because then I'm demonstrating some real teaching. So I don't want to make a dick out of myself, okay? So when we do that, then I have to be on the ball, and I'm burnt out now because we've been going for too long. So I don't know about next week, but soon, definitely after my holiday, we'll be doing that. We'll be doing it live student interaction. Yeah, thank you, Julia. Yeah, I don't know what YouTube has against the blooming channel. You know, it's interesting. It is getting a bit more exposure now. But it's funny because I think the thumbnails are good. So I think English learners, if they see the thumbnail, they will click. And 2 weeks ago, YouTube, amazingly, it fired one of the videos out there. And it got like 20,000 impressions. So an impression is when the thumbnail appears in someone's recommended at the side, right? So for some reason, YouTube decided to fire one out there, and almost nobody clicked it, which makes me think that YouTube chose the wrong niche, right? So the niche should be advanced learners of English, non-native learners of English, advanced. Whoosh. But it went for some other niche, I think, and then nobody clicked it because an English learning video, you're not going to click if you're not you don't want to learn English. So interestingly enough, that particular video didn't do much better than the other videos, even though it got loads of impressions, like loads. Yes, Daisy. I know. I think that's the thing. The thing is, Daisy, the interesting thing about lives right now, because the channel is not yet monetized, then actual live viewers is not that important. More important is actually the people who watch afterwards. And there are huge numbers, relatively, of people watching these afterwards now. Like, the channel is getting about 1,000 hours of watch time a month, which is about 5 times what it previously had. And that's all from people watching the live stream after the live stream's finished, because it doesn't count live viewing as the same thing. So everyone viewing now, that's great, and I love interacting with a active audience, but it doesn't actually count towards YouTube watch time. The watch time is all about the video on demand, which is after the live stream ends. So right now, I'm not sure that I actually want to advertise the schedule. I think I'd prefer to just do it like surprise, right? However, when the channel hits monetization, which will be probably about October, November, fingers crossed, if things continue like this, even in a straight line. If they continue in a straight line, then by November, the channel will hit monetization. Then I'll put the schedule up. Because with monetization, we get memberships and super chats and advertisements. So when we get all that stuff, then then I'll advertise the schedule for the stream for sure. And I'll get an amazing check for about $100 a year from YouTube. Hey, not doing it for the money, folks. Guess not. It's good fun anyway. It's good fun. All right, everybody. I think it's about time that we wrap up. We had sometimes like viewing shorts, some like streams. Oh, it's all over the place, Ashley. It's a dark art. And, you know, the funny thing is as well, like there's some people who only watch shorts. So, you know, remember I was making a lot of shorts and the channel gained 1,000 subscribers in the space of a month. And I think like almost none of those subscribers actually watch any other videos. They just watch shorts. Just shorts. Some people do, though. Some people do. You'll see, who's that guy? He sometimes comes in here. What's his name? Sheikh or something like that. The Indian fella. He came from shorts, I think, because he watches like he's watched like all the shorts. He's commented on like all of them pretty much, and he sometimes comes into stream as well. So yeah, some people, but not loads. I should do a vote. I think next class I should do a vote. How did you find this channel? And I think like 90% will say from Oxford Online English. 90%. And then like 10% through YouTube. That's what I think. I would like to know though. Be interesting. Thank you very much, everybody. I hope you've enjoyed it today. I hope it's been useful to you. And I need to get some lunch and prepare because I'm flying tomorrow. Oh, Jesus. All right, everybody, have a lovely, lovely weekend. Thank you very much for joining me today. I will be here next week. I don't know about any midweek stuff, but next Saturday I intend to do a stream, hopefully. I hope so. have a lovely week, a lovely weekend. I hope you're enjoying your summer. It's summer, everybody. Make the most of it. It's raining in England right now. It sucks. Last week it was global warming. Everything was too hot. Now it's raining and summer sucks. That's the way it goes sometimes, I guess. Thank you very much. And I'll catch you next time. Next week. My name's been Professor Rich. Smash that like button. Catch you later. I really should label these things. Okay, there we go. Okay. I don't really want to listen to that particular song, so I'm going to go for something else. I'm going to play some music though. I need some music to sort of detach. I'm going to go for this one. Song in the background is Unreal Tournament Full Gone. It's a remix available on OT Remix. see you next time. Oh my God, my voice is totally going. All right, see you next time. Bye-bye, everyone.